What's going on, YouTube? So for years, the Sequoia and Land Cruiser sat atop the Toyota lineup as their flagship large SUVs. However, things have undergone a major change over the last year, since Toyota has fully redesigned the Sequoia for the first time in over a decade, and completely discontinued the Land Cruiser in its US lineup. That being said, the Land Cruiser still lives on in spirit, since Americans have the brand new Land Cruiser's bones underneath the new Lexus LX600. This means that the sibling rivalry is still alive after all. And even though the prices are quite different, I think you'll be surprised at just how much common ground they share. But without further ado, let's go ahead and pit Toyota's flagship models against each other. Now before we get into it, let's get the pricing out of the way. Like I already mentioned, no, these two don't compete with each other on price, but they do in many other ways. Starting with the Toyota, we have the new Capstone model, which takes Sequoia to a level of luxury and price it's never been before. After destination, it's within spitting distance of $80,000. The all-new Lexus LX starts out at about $8,000 more than the highest-end Sequoia. But we got to test out the absolute bougiest version available, the Ultra Luxury. That model cost a whopping $128,000, but almost every feature besides for the back seats can be had in the $90,000 range. Nevertheless, let's get into the main comparison. Now right off the bat here, the first thing you will undoubtedly notice are the bold designs that both these two exhibit. They have large grills that dominate their front ends, and ample use of chrome to signify their expense. As expected, both have full LED projector headlights, but only the Sequoia utilizes dynamic turn signals, and only the Lexus has headlamp washers. Heading on around, both will throw in large 22-inch alloys, which look nice against the boxy side profiles. And speaking of the profiles, even though they share the same basic platform, they are not the same length. Just like in the past with the Land Cruiser, the LX is a bit more compact for off-roading, versus the passenger-focused Sequoia. On the subject of off-roading, it's a good time to mention the suspensions. The Sequoia has a load-leveling rear air suspension, but the LX has a fully height-adjustable hydraulic suspension. This allows it to achieve a ton of ground clearance when needed, and quickly lower itself for easy entry and exit. As we move to the back, this is the angle where they look the most similar. Both are quite boxy, with large rear glass and low-set LED taillights. Practically speaking though, it's the Sequoia that can tow more, with the Capstone 4-wheel drive coming in at nearly 9,000 pounds versus 8,000 pounds in the LX. Now as far as some of the other features, both have fully loaded mirrors, and they both also have the 2.5 version safety systems, which include every single active safety system as standard equipment. Warranty-wise, both have reputations of being bulletproof, but if you need to utilize them, the Lexus has the longer one for both basic and powertrain. Anyway, that's the end of the exterior comparison, so now let's get to the super luxurious interiors before we take them out for a spin. So walking up to the vehicles, both are obviously going to have smart entry systems to unlock the doors. But it is worth noting that only the Sequoia has power running boards, which makes entry and exit much easier. Now checking out the interiors themselves, as you can see, both look extremely plush, although the design themes are of course very dissimilar. In the Capstone, we have a lovely two-tone black and white semi-aniline leather interior. And in the LX, we also have quilted semi-aniline leather seating. As far as the seats themselves, they are both heated and ventilated with memory functions, and the same number of adjustments. Now as far as the broader interior materials, both are seriously impressive. At the end of the day, one is a luxury nameplate and the other is not, meaning the LX has all the little extra touches, such as real metal speaker grills and more widespread use of leather, wood, and aluminum. Now after startup, surprisingly, it's only the Toyota deploying a 12.3-inch full digital gauge cluster. Both also have large and crisp head-up displays. Of course, it pretty much goes without saying that both have heated steering wheels with power adjustment, but the LX is using nicer leather and wood. Now the next major area to evaluate is interior storage, where both are pretty spacious. However, the Sequoia makes better use of space by having more bins and cubbies to stick things. It should also be noted that the center console is a cool box in the LX, and the Lexus is missing a wireless phone charger in the front. Going against the trend of electronic shifters, both SUVs have traditional ones, and when you shift into reverse, they both display 360-degree cameras. For the climate controls, we do have some differences. The LX has an extra zone for 4 total, and the climate concierge system, which automatically decides things like the heated and vented seats and the heated steering wheel. Alrighty, that brings us to the audio systems, so let's sample them. The Sequoia's JBL is decent, but the LX's Mark Levinson is truly top-notch and really impresses. Now moving on to these screens, they are obviously very important aspects of the interiors, and they have completely different setups. In the Toyota, it's a giant 14-inch touchscreen, but in the Lexus, it's a 12.3-inch touchscreen with a secondary 7-inch helper display below. Fundamentally, beyond that, they are both running the newest corporate Toyota software that is extremely fast and responsive, and also has wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Up above, both have rear camera mirror systems, and, strangely enough, only the Sequoia has a panoramic sunroof. But since these are giant 3-row SUVs, there is still a lot to talk about in the back seats. Now, like I mentioned at the beginning, we have the rare ultra luxury trim of the LX. But while that makes things ultra plush, it actually reduces the legroom, which was already less than the Sequoia. Both offer tons of luxury on board, so starting with what they share: captain's chairs, climate controls, heated and vented seats, and window sunshades. What is special about the LX is the power reclining seats with massage, the power ottoman, and the rear entertainment screens. But on the ultra luxury, you automatically forfeit a third row completely, which means the Sequoia will score a point here. Other versions of the LX do have a third row though. Moving around back to the cargo, both have hands-free power tailgates, but only the Toyota can pop the rear glass independently. Once open, the Sequoia's extra 8 inches of length pay dividends, with the max cargo capacity being about 20% larger. So now let's go ahead and take them out on the road and see how they stack up there. So throughout the video, some things these two have in common and some they don't, and that same principle applies under the hood. What's the same is the 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6 engine, but what's different is the tuning and the fact that the Sequoia has the iForce Max hybrid system on board. Because of this, the Toyota delivers about 7% more horsepower and 20% more torque. Right.
Yeah.
And we're even going up a little bit of a hill. So with this Sequoia, I think one of the biggest and most important things to note about it is the fact that you have the iForce Max powertrain, the hybrid powertrain, standard equipment.
Yep.
So unlike the Tundra, where you have the smaller, naturally, or 3.5 twin turbo without the hybrid system, this one is the best you can get, and it's standard on all the trims, including the SR5 base model. So that's certainly a very nice thing to see, and you get all of that power. 437 horsepower, 583 pound-feet of torque.
Yeah, and if you're keeping tabs on that, that is going to be more than even the upgraded engine in the Chevy Tahoe. All right, there's up to 60 miles an hour in this all-new Lexus LX600. We're looking at a 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6 under the hood, 409 horsepower, 479 pound-feet of torque. So certainly really healthy power numbers. That's actually more power than what the previous LX570 model had. I definitely can sense that.
As far as the transmissions are concerned, both have 10-speed automatic transmissions that are very smooth and responsive.
Now, another thing I wanted you to notice there upon that acceleration was what transmission we have on board. We have a fantastic transmission on board with this LX600. We're looking at a 10-speed automatic. We've sampled this out. Like Drew said, it is a similar powertrain to something like a Toyota Tundra. We've sampled it out earlier in the year, and this is just a really good transmission. This is really quick.
It pulls so hard.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Sound level reader went flying.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to have to tame it down there.
So the other nice thing about this powertrain combination is certainly this 10-speed automatic transmission. When you put your foot down, shifts are lightning fast. It'll drop several gears at once, and otherwise when you're just driving around in a more casual manner, like most people will be doing, it's nice and smooth as well.
Right.
But perhaps as important as power is ride quality. Both models are using adaptive dampers that do a nice job of isolating out all but the largest imperfections.
And as far as your ride quality is concerned, that's obviously something that this LX600 really focuses on, and the ride quality is absolutely superb with this model. I mean, it is a large luxury SUV. You have really tough competition in terms of your ride quality, and it does a really good job. The seats are really nice semi-aniline. These are some of the most comfortable seats I've ever sat my butt in. That said, you do not have an air suspension, so I do think the suspension is a little bit rougher riding than something like an Escalade. But guys, I won't keep you waiting longer. We need to talk about the ride quality for the Sequoia, because that is really the point of a big 3-row like this. Is you need to haul around your family, you want to go on family vacations and enjoy the ride experience. So let's go ahead and talk about that, and I'm very happy to tell you that this is awesome ride quality in the Sequoia. We've been nothing but impressed in our drive so far this morning. This is a really good riding vehicle. First of all, the seats are really comfortable. Second of all, the suspension is tuned really nicely. You have an adaptive variable suspension. You also have a rear air suspension. So all of that put together really gives you one of the best ride qualities in the entire segment.
And as far as sound insulation, we tested both of them on decently smooth roads at 55 miles per hour, and they returned decibel readings only 2% apart. Oh, it's not moving from 56.2 decibels. That's going to be our official reading.
57.9 is what we're sitting at for the sound level reader. That is a really good reading, guys. I'm not exactly sure what the Tahoe tested at. You'll have to maybe go see that or watch our comparison video.
Both also make convincing V8 imitation sounds when you're hard on the accelerator. Finally, when it comes to fuel economy, the hybrid Sequoia is more about boosting power than it is about increasing MPGs, which is why it's only 1 MPG better combined. But the Toyota uses regular fuel and the Lexus premium fuel, which will save you a good deal of money in the long run. Well guys, that's where we're going to wrap up this comparison video. This has been a fun thought experiment between two indirect siblings that could come close to competing depending on which version of the LX you pick. So, which SUV would you choose? How many points could we add to the total to represent the prestige of the Lexus? Let us know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Thanks for joining us for another Car Confections comparison. And be sure to subscribe if you want to see more comparisons, as well as our signature full reviews. Thanks for watching, and stay safe out there.